Hello, happy Wednesday, everybody. Good morning. I don't know who's going to be available to join me live at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, but I thought while I'm going through the election results, I decided to go live because that way, if anybody was available and wanted to join me and ask questions, I thought it would be easy for me to just go through this in video format rather than trying to do some sort of written content, which may come later on. But just to talk about the preliminary results, at least, of the primary election from yesterday. So honestly, I'm pretty encouraged right out of the gate. Let's just, I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of go through some of the we'll go through the state, federal, state, and then we'll go through the legislative. We'll take more time with the legislative because that's really where we as an organization put our focus. That's where we spend our time is in the state legislature. And so those are the candidates that we know best based on their voting record or working with them. And those are seats that we have a strong interest in helping conservative candidates get those seats. So I'm just going to go ahead and dig right in without waiting and stalling too long to let people join in, because I'm sure most people will probably catch this on replay. So let me share my screen with y'all so we can just kind of go through this together. And I'm going to use the state. I don't have two monitors. I'm going to use the state Secretary of State website to show you kind of what we've got going on here. So hopefully you can see this, the Washington Secretary of State election and voting page. I will go ahead and add this link to the chat so that if you guys want to check it out for yourself, which I recommend because they will be updating it usually every evening. I think usually around 5 o'clock they update it. But you'll want to check back regularly, and they're still counting ballots and things like that. The election results don't actually get certified until I think it's around the 20th. It might be the 23rd. So really quickly, let's take a look at Senator. We've got, of course, Maria Cantwell is carrying almost 58% of the vote. And Dr. Raul Garcia came out with 21.23. So those two will advance to the general. This is going to be a really tough race for Garcia to win. As we saw a couple years ago with Smiley and Patty Murray, it's just hard to beat a Democrat on a statewide level like this. They just have so much funding and really the machine behind them. So that was expected that Garcia would come out of the primary. So here we are in the congressional seats for House of Representatives. So let's start with our conservative ladies endorsed candidates. We have Jared Sessler over in the 4th district, which is Central Washington. He got almost 30% of the vote. And what is really interesting about this race, I was really happy about this because number one, Jared's a friend of mine. He's America First, just a good guy. He had the least amount of funding in this race, and he got the highest percentage of the votes, which I think is really cool because they always tell you it's about who has the most money, who can fundraise the most. And so this is one of those instances where you get to see the good guy win. Newhouse was one of the 10 Republicans that voted to impeach Trump back in 2020. So there's been this ongoing effort to get him out. He also votes with Democrats more often than we would like. He's definitely a squishy Republican. And then Tiffany Smiley jumped in this race kind of late. There's a lot of talk about why she jumped into the race at all. My personal belief is that she owes a favor to the RNC. She had a lot of campaign debt from her Senate campaign in 2022 to work off. She was well funded to run attack ads against Jared Sessler. So again, it's nice to see the good guy come out ahead. So we will be working hard to get Jared Sessler elected to Congress. That would be huge. That would be such a big win for all of America, because we need more America First representatives in Congress. So with that, let's go to District 3, where our other endorsed candidate, Joe Kent, pulled off a win and will go on to the general, which was also expected. He had Leslie Lee Wallen, who is also a Republican, and she's endorsed by the more establishment Republicans who do not like Trump, do not like Joe Kent, and would like to have a more moderate in that seat, kind of like a Jamie Herrera Butler type. So hopefully, if all of the votes that went to her go to Joe, Joe could definitely pull off a win. He came within 3,000 votes of Marie Perez back in 2022. So this is a winnable seat. We just need people that are the sort of never Trump types to vote for Joe, even though they don't like Trump, which is kind of frustrating. Another seat that was kind of cool here is District 6 over on the Kitsap Peninsula. Drew McEwen is a Republican senator running for this congressional seat, and he did quite well in this race. He defeated, two very well-funded, strong Democrats. Emily Randall is also a state senator. So this is going to be an interesting race. I think this is also one that, if Republicans put in the work and do some ballot harvesting and door knocking and all those things, I think this is a flippable seat too. This is currently, I forget his name, but it's currently held by a Democrat. So this would be a flip, which would be awesome. All right. Let's see. The 5th district is Kathy McMorris Rogers' seat. And this one had a lot of Republicans vying for this seat. And so it looks like Baumgartner is coming out with the lead overall. And it looks like right now we'll have Carmela Conroy on the Democrat side. So Jacqueline Maycumber did pretty well. Brian Danzel was the GOP endorsed candidate, also the Spokane GOP endorsed candidate. We had him as our recommendation for those reasons, because we wanted to piggyback on that. But of course, we will recommend Baumgartner for the general, and hope we can keep this seat red. Let's see. I'm just going to go over a couple more of these that were interesting. I thought the 8th district was interesting because this spread between Carmen Goers and Kim Schreier was a little closer than I think I expected it to be. I kind of expected Schreier to run away with it, and it looks like Goers is within striking distance. So that could be cool. All right, let's move on to state executive. I'm not even going to, governor was kind of what we all expected, right? Ferguson comes out with a big lead, and Reichert will also advance to the primary. I don't think it helped Byrd to be the very last candidate on the ballot, but he ran a good race. Lieutenant governor, you've got Denny Heck, who is the current lieutenant governor, and Dan Matthews. I believe Dan Matthews is from the 2nd congressional district. I don't know what legislative district is, but I thought he ran for Congress in 2022. But he'll be advancing to the general, so that's good. Secretary of State, this is cool. Dale Whitaker is an awesome candidate. He is a legal immigrant. I think he came from the UK. I can't remember exactly where he came from off the top of my head, but he's a really great candidate. He's very knowledgeable. I think he would be an amazing Secretary of State. So we will be behind him. Once again, he was obviously our recommendation as the Republican candidate in this race. Defeating Steve Hobbs is going to be difficult just because so many people, I think, have that name recognition. I was helping my parents fill out their ballots, and they just kind of go off of name recognition. And so, they've heard that from, media outlets and stuff over the years because he's the incumbent. So getting beyond that name recognition is going to be really key in the next couple months. State treasurer, there's just two on this one, so they'll go to the general. Sharon Hannock is the Republican state auditor. Again, just the two of them. Matt Hawkins is going to need a lot of help to pull this off, but it would be great to get a new state auditor because we have a bunch of funny business going on there. Now, Attorney General, I was really excited to see Pete Serrano with this chunk of the vote. Now, because I'm glad Dinger's out. But if Dinger voters go with Brown, that's a problem. So I think this is winnable, but again, it's a lot of work ahead. But Pete is a great candidate. It would be, especially if you're going to have Bob Ferguson as your governor, you're going to want Pete Serrano for your attorney general. Commissioner of Public Lands. This one kind of surprised me. I expected a Democrat to pull out of this, but it looks like if these numbers hold, it looks like you're going to have Peterson and Herrera Butler in the primary. And so Peterson is the one we recommended. I don't know her, but I know that she was endorsed by most of the county GOPs. She was endorsed by the Washington GOP. And so this was another one of those instances where we just wanted to get behind what they were endorsing and not try to, split between Butler and Peterson. So that would be interesting, but either of those candidates I think would be far better than any Democrat. All right, this is a big one, and this is one of mine that I think is one of the most important races in the state on your November ballot. So this is the Superintendent of Public Instruction, also known as the OSPI. Currently, you have Chris Reichdahl in there, and he is the father of bad policy. He also thinks that the state owns your children, and he is very much in favor of and pushes policies for the schools to indoctrinate your children with all kinds of garbage, queer theory, critical race theory, comprehensive sex education, all kinds of indoctrination, the gender ideology. He is big on all of that. He is in favor of all of the Title IX rewrites that have just come out, allowing boys to play in girls' sports and boys to be in girls' bathrooms. We just want kids to be able to go to school and get an academic education, come out being able to read, write, and do math. So David Olson is a great candidate. He is currently a school board member in, I want to say it's Peninsula School District, but he would be far better than Chris Reichdahl. So this is another one of those races that I think it's winnable. I think it's within reach, but it's going to take a strong effort. I think that Republicans are going to have to do a lot of ballot harvesting, and we're going to work on that with our members and see if we can get some momentum going there. Okay, insurance commissioner. Patty Cooter came out with a strong lead, but Phil Fortunato will advance with her to the general. Phil Fortunato is a current state senator, and so we recommended him for this, and we'll continue to support him moving forward. All right, let's head over to the legislative results. Did I already read off the 3rd district? Yes. Joe Kent and Marie Perez will move on to the general. I think that's a winnable race because, excuse me, if we can get all of the Leslie Lee Wallen voters over to Joe, it's very winnable. And as I mentioned earlier, he came within 3,000 votes of her in 2022. So it's definitely doable. And we just gotta work hard and push efforts to get out the vote and ballot harvesting and all of that. Joe is one of the hardest workers I know as far as campaigning. He is amazing and tireless, and his whole family, his wife and his boys, they are just out there all the time, all over the place. It's really quite quite amazing, the efforts that they're putting into this. And he would be, he would be a member of the Freedom Caucus in Congress. He would be America First. He would be a reliable conservative vote against all of the garbage, which if, God forbid, if Trump doesn't get elected and we get a Harris-Walz administration, we are going to need as many Joe Kent types as possible. So let's take a look at these legislative results. And I'm not going to go through all 48, 49 seats, but if you have one that I don't get to that you want me to take a look at, let me know in the chat. But let's start with District 2. District 1 is, I think there was only like one, I think it's all Democrats running in District 1. That's kind of in the North King County area. Okay, so this is an interesting race. It shouldn't be interesting, but it is. So Jim McCune is the incumbent. He is the most conservative senator in Washington state. He got 100% on our legislative scorecard. And the Senate Minority Leader, John Braun, was endorsing this Rhonda to run against him to get him out because he's too conservative. And so they were doing these mailers and, spreading lies. And the Cascade PAC, which I believe is run by J.T. Wilcox and maybe Drew Stokesbury, both leaders in the House, they spent $55,000 on campaign ads in support of Rhonda and in opposition to Jim McCune. $55,000. Do you know how many campaigns could have utilized that money in a positive way against Democrats? So this is really, this is a big win. This makes me really happy because we can't afford to lose Jim in the state Senate. And so I'm happy to see this. It's really unfortunate. I mean, John Braun came out in an article last week or the week before about how the voters in this district, they want change and blah, blah, blah. And, I think this is right here. This is proof that it's not the voters that want the change. It's John Braun and, his buddies that want the change. And so the voters spoke, and hopefully we can keep this momentum going through to the general election. So if you live in District 2 or you live close to District 2, Jim McCune is an amazing candidate to support. He works very well with our team during the session. He'll take information that we give him. He's on the education committee. And so we're able to really work with him and get him information that he can use in committee hearings and things like that about different policy that, it's hard for them to keep track of everything. And we have people on our team that are teachers or have a lot of education experience that and information that is useful for getting into these committees. So this is a huge win for us. Barkus ran unopposed. All right, so this position 2 in District 2 is J.T. Wilcox's seat that he is not running again. And so our endorsed candidate in this race is Matt Marshall. And I did a live stream with Matt last week. He's just a phenomenal candidate. He has experience in so many different areas that it's very cool to talk to him. And I just get he's so qualified. He's a former school board member. He's he's a former military. He's got such a wide range of background that would be really useful in the state legislature. So he and John Snazza, former sheriff, will go toe-to-toe in the general. John Snazza is the establishment endorsed candidate in this race. So while he would be a Republican, he just would not be as conservative as Matt Marshall would. And Matt really wants to work on building a Freedom Caucus with McCune's in the Senate, but with other conservative legislators in the House. So that would be great. Let's see, how do I get back to my map? Oh, that's not. Yes, it is. Okay. Let's see. The 18th district was interesting as well. This is another one. So Greg Cheney is currently a state representative. Brad Benton is the more conservative of the two, we had him as our recommended choice. I'm hoping that I'll get an opportunity, or someone on our team will get an opportunity to chat with him here in the next few weeks so we can go through our endorsement process and see about endorsing him for the general. What's interesting about this race is how much money the Senate Republican caucus put into Cheney's race, and how much PAC money and special interest group money is in Cheney's campaign fund. So this is, I love to see this because I love it when a candidate of the people wins. And so if Benton is to get all of that, pick up Greg's votes, then he's over the 50% and could win. So this is a winnable seat for Brad. Incumbent Stephanie McClintock. And so position 2 is another situation just like the Senate seat here, where Philip Johnson is the establishment choice. They put all the money into that race, and John Lee was the, I believe he was our recommended choice, and he was endorsed by Clark County and other GOPs down in that area. I think there's another county in the 18th ledge, but a conservative legislator. So that would be a nice seat to pick up too. So another one that's nice to see him win there. I'm trying to remember where I saw some. Let's go over to District 4 over in Spokane Valley. Mike Kelly is our endorsed candidate. He was also endorsed by Senator Mike Patton, who is retiring. So this is an open seat of Patton's. And Leonard Christian is currently a state rep in this district. So he will advance with Miguel Valencia to the general. So we're sad to see that Mike Kelly, it doesn't look like Mike Kelly's going to move on to the general, although these are, these numbers could change. Hard to say. Suzanne Schmidt is the incumbent. She's carrying that seat well. And then this is position 2 is an open seat. Again, Rob Chase had this seat a couple years ago, and then he, I'm trying to remember if he didn't run or I forget what happened with this. But anyway, so it looks like Ted Cummings and Brandy Peets. No, Ted Cummings and Rob Chase look like they will advance to the general, although this is a pretty close race. So depending on what comes in, it looks like Brandy Peets and Rob Chase are kind of neck and neck right now. So we'll see what happens there. Let's go to the 39th. No surprises with the Senate seat. Okay, so this seat, position 1, is we endorsed Robert Sutherland. We endorsed Robert Sutherland back in 2022. This was Robert's seat prior to 2022. The establishment ran Sam Lowe against him in 2022, and Sam won. Sam is very moderate. I think it would be, he almost is more Democrat. He sponsors a lot of policy, bipartisan policy, and in a state like Washington, when you're sponsoring bipartisan policy with Democrats, it's usually not good. So there have been a lot of bad policies that Sam Lowe has helped to pass, including the Office of Refugee and Immigrant Assistance that allows illegals to receive housing, jobs, cash. There was, I believe it was $32 million allocated to this by taxpayer dollars allocated to this that became available on July 1. So just last month. So this is just a bad policy. There were 4 Republicans in the House that voted for it. It was Sam and his seatmate, Carolyn Eslick, who's right down here, Carolyn Eslick. They both co-sponsored it and they voted for it. JT Wilcox, and I forget the 4th one. I don't want to misspeak on that. So that's a bad policy, some bad education policy and other policies that we prefer to have a conservative vote on that. And Robert is a consistent conservative vote in the legislature, so it would be nice to get him back in there. But we'll see. Sam did, he carried a big chunk of the vote. So we'll see what happens. But I know that Robert has a good campaign team. Most of the other states didn't really, or districts didn't really have anything surprising. Let's take a look at 31 real quick. We had Brandon Bynum is our endorsed candidate, and it looks like he's not going to make it here through the primary, which makes me really sad because he's a great conservative candidate. So looks like it will be Penner and Gunn to the general. All right, what else have we got here? I think the 26th was a little interesting. Yeah. So Jesse Young and Addison Richards will advance to the general. Jesse had this seat prior to 2022 is when he ran for the Senate seat, and Emily Randall beat him for that seat. So here you've got another case of Jim Henderson was the establishment choice. They put a lot of money into that. There was a lot of Republican legislators that endorsed Henderson. He's got some very radical positions from the limited research I've done on this race. And Jesse is, when he was in the Senate, or in the House, he was a consistent conservative vote. So this would be good. Hopefully he can beat Richards, which it looks like it's going to be close. So going to need to focus on that one as well. Position 2, Michelle Caldier is the incumbent, and I like her. She has one, probably more than one, but she voted yes on 1469 in 2023, which is the SHIELD law, which shields, protects providers and people that help with abortions and gender affirming care, allows kids to come from other states. And there's, they can't prosecute. And I don't know if that was a mistake. I never really heard much from her about that, but she is good to work with. And I think she listens to her constituents, which is a big thing. So I don't really have anything negative to say about her. I don't think she's establishment or anything like that. In fact, she didn't even caucus with the Republicans for a couple sessions. And Rachel Harder was our recommended pick on this just because she is more conservative, but I don't really have any, qualms about supporting Michelle in the general. And so hopefully she can pull that off. It looks like with the combined numbers here, that won't be a problem. But we'll see. We can't rest on our laurels. I think those are kind of the contested, the seats that were a little bit, I don't know if contentious is the right word, but I put this link in the chat, and you can go there and, look through these yourself. The interactive map is really easy. I mentioned earlier that these numbers get updated. They'll probably get updated daily for the next few days, and then they go, probably be every few days before they get certified in a couple weeks. But one of the things that is going to be really important is ballot harvesting, which is legal in Washington state. And so it's not just a job of the GOP. Anybody can do it. Any citizen can do it. So we're working with some of the people that we know that know all about the ballot harvesting stuff. And we are working on bringing a training to you guys so that if you are interested in doing that and learning how to do it, you can do that. I think that's going to be a critical piece going into the general. The turnout on this election was like 20%, 20.5% or something like that. It was dismal. And the younger people are not voting. Like the 18 to 24 age group was really, really low. So it's important that we get out the vote. If you have, young adult children, talk to them and then have them talk to their friends. I don't know if you guys saw on, I think it was Monday, when Donald Trump went on a Kick live stream with Aiden Ross. And I don't know if you're like me, I'm an old lady. I didn't really know a whole lot about that, but I have a 20-year-old son and he's a big gamer, streamer. He does all that stuff. And so I asked him about it and he was watching it from his house, and I was watching it from my house, and we were texting back and forth as it was going. And there were almost 600,000 people watching that live stream. And Aiden Ross is probably in his early 20s, probably about my son's age. And if we could get that kind of energy with the kids, that would be huge. So finding ways to connect with your kids, or if you work with kids or young adults, whether you're a youth pastor, something like that, we need to get these kids voting. It's really important. As I was looking at the kind of the age demographic breakdown of the ballot returns, I was really scared because it's the older generation that is voting. And so what happens when, if we're not creating a culture of the importance of voting, which I get it, for almost 20 years, not 20 years, 12 years. I didn't want to vote because I didn't think my vote counted. After the 2004 Dino Rossi thing, I didn't want to vote. I didn't think my vote counted. They're just counting the votes until they get the result that they want. And I didn't want any part of that. But I have come around since then. And I know that if we do not vote in massive numbers, there's no way to turn this around. Voting is the only way out of the mess that we're in. So I would encourage you to be sure that you vote, talk to all your friends, family, neighbors, get them to vote, talk to your kids, your voting age kids, get them to vote, get their friends to vote. And so we'll talk more about getting out the vote and ballot harvesting as we get closer to November. I will be working with some of these candidates that are going through to the general to have more live streams with them, so you guys can get to know them better, and share their content, share those videos with people. I think that's an easy way for people to hear from candidates, is when they come on and do these live streams. It's easy to share. It's a lot easier for people to get their information that way rather than going to an actual event, because most people don't really want to be bothered with going to a political event, and I can't say that I blame them. So those are some of the things that we will be working on. If you have any questions about elections or candidates, or if you know a candidate that we should talk to, that we should get behind and support, that needs our support, please reach out and let us know. I will put there it is, conservativeladiesofwa.com, and you can contact us through there. And one of our team members will get back to you, or I will get back to you. Someone will get back to you. But that's the best place to reach us with your questions, or trying to figure out how to plug in your community. And if you're interested in doing some kind of ballot harvesting in your area or at your church, I think the church is going to be a huge place that we need to collect ballots and get the church to vote. I don't know if I've heard from anybody about pastors encouraging people to vote. I know a couple do, but I'd love to hear from you. If your pastor is on this election stuff, I'd love to hear from you, just because I want to know who's talking about it, because we like to work with those pastors too and figure out, if we can get them resources and help them. I've heard from a few pastors that have asked about different candidates and what our experience has been with different candidates, and their faith and things like that. So we would be happy to work with your pastors as well. So again, you can contact us at conservativeladiesofwa.com. I hope you voted. If you didn't vote, make sure you vote in the general. And please follow us on social media. We're putting out all of our endorsed candidates. We're putting out information for how you can contribute to their campaign or get out and volunteer with their campaign. All these people need some help, and truly it's, we can't depend on other people to do the work. We can't depend on organizations or the party. It really is, it's you and me getting out there and doing the work and talking to people, knocking on doors, donating money, even little bits. So thank you for joining me today. Again, if you have any questions, head over to conservativeladiesofwa.com.